Stephen Miller has been described as many things. His own uncle, Bill Glossier, called his nephew an asshole and a pompous jerk. Mark Milley, the former chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff during the first Trump administration, described Miller as a Rasputin character, always whispering devilish ideas in the king's ear. Michael McKenna, a former lobbyist who worked for the White House, called him the Terminator, in reference to the soulless machines that seek to destroy all of humanity from James Cameron's film. Similarly, Steve Bannon, Trump's former campaign strategist, referred to Miller as a quote-unquote evil robot, and Bannon meant it not as an insult, but as a compliment. But Stephen Miller has also been described as being funny by both his supporters and opponents. In this video, I will explain this seemingly puzzling contradiction and explore the psychology of Stephen Miller, Donald Trump's speechwriter, Homeland Security Advisor, Deputy Chief of Staff, and one of the most powerful bureaucrats in the White House. I will expose how he exploited the guise of humor to advance through life. I will be comparing him with other villainous figures from both history and contemporary times, and reveal how fascism and evil can be seen as humorous, when its real nature is monstrous. Stephen Miller's reputation as a twisted individual dates back to his adolescence. The counselor at Stephen Miller's high school in Santa Monica, a man named Oscar de la Torre, noted that Miller was just wicked and that you could see it in his eyes. Miller and de la Torre had many heated exchanges in which the future White House official railed against multicultural activities, bilingual education, and gay rights groups. There's no other word to describe the feeling. It was wickedness, said de la Torre. He was born with the ability to bring out anger from people, and he rejoiced in that. It made him powerful. A former classmate and student body president of Santa Monica High School, Elliot Wolf, made a similar observation. Wolf said that Miller had a different life objective than anyone else he knew. He noted that some people want money, some people want power, some people want influence, some people want women, some people want scientific discovery, and a lot of people run around not knowing what they want. Stephen very clearly wanted the tears of his enemies, and then went out and got them. Now, as the architect of Trump's immigration policies, Miller has pushed for the dramatic expansion of the DHS budget in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act and has told ICE agents that they have federal immunity to do what they want. He would be seen to be living his lifelong dream. But as often as Miller is characterized as evil, he's also described as being funny. The description comes from those on the modern right wing and even some on the left. Away from the cameras, Miller has developed a reputation among the White House staff as something of a stand-up comedian on Air Force One. His antics led Michael Anton, the National Security Council spokesman during the first Trump administration, to say that Miller was extremely hilarious. Even opponents of Miller, such as the Democratic Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, have told supporters on social media that we should laugh at Miller, calling him a clown. Miller's reputation as a jester also goes back to his high school years. In a resurfaced video from 2003, he expresses his thoughts on what should happen to Saddam Hussein if and when the Iraqi dictator is caught. Speaking directly into the camera, the 17-year-old Miller declares, "Torture is the way to go," adding, "Because torture, people can live. Torture is a celebration of life and human dignity." In the video, some of his classmates can be heard giggling. In the absence of an actual joke, we can assume they were laughing because they thought he was merely trolling them. After all, what reasonable person could claim torture is a celebration of life and human dignity? The two words often used to describe Miller, evil and funny, may seem incongruous, but on closer inspection, the two attributes are not as remote as they might seem. The covalence is, in fact, consistent with the behavior of other fascists throughout history, many of whom have also been seen as harmless because they appeared funny and not serious. The philosopher Hannah Arendt made this point in her famous book, Eichmann in Jerusalem, which covered the trial of the Nazi war criminal Adolf Eichmann, who facilitated the deportation of Jews to the death camps. The book today is famous for popularizing the phrase, the banality of evil. For Arendt, Eichmann was banal or average in the sense that he was genuinely incapable of uttering a single sentence that was not a cliche, and that the only thing he had learned, perhaps, was how to sell. In the same book, Arendt made another startling claim. noting that Eichmann was sometimes funny as much as he was evil. Despite all the efforts of the prosecution, she wrote, everybody could see that this man was not a quote-unquote monster, but it was difficult indeed not to suspect that he was a clown. Eichmann was, of course, a monstrous figure, but his inconsistent and contradictory statements during his trial made him appear as a mere fool. Arendt's observation has important relevance for those of us trying to comprehend modern-day fascists, who are often dismissed and downplayed as harmless jesters. Think about the number of times far-right influencers and leaders have managed to survive in their careers, despite making outlandishly offensive comments, because they are perceived to be just joking or trolling. Take the trial of the social media influencer and self-declared misogynist Andrew Tate. In his Romanian court case involving human trafficking, Tate's defense lawyers made the argument that he was playing a character on the internet that didn't reflect his real-life persona. A similar defense was used for the far-right conspiracy theorist Alex Jones, when his lawyers said that in his trial that he was just a performance artist. Another example comes from the self-declared white nationalist Nick Fuentes. When the Manhattan Institute, a conservative think tank, asked Gen Z Republicans what they thought of Fuentes, respondents defended him, with one saying that he just thinks he's funny. Then, of course, there's Donald Trump. When the president continued to praise the wonderful and the late great Hannibal Lecter, the fictional serial killer from the film The Silence of the Lambs, Brian Kilmeade of Fox News said he is just kidding around and having fun. I will admit, even as a person of the left, I have momentarily found some right-wingers, particularly Donald Trump, comical. It was baffling but also amusing when he tweeted that he would like to extend his best wishes to all, even the haters and losers, on this special date, September 11th. I laughed when he thanked his supporters by saying, "I love the poorly educated," after winning the Nevada Republican primary back in 2016. In 2018, he struck comedic gold when he called Hurricane Florence one of the wettest we've seen from the standpoint of water. From Donald Trump to other buffoonish far-right authoritarians, like Jair Bolsonaro or Javier Milei, fascists are indeed entertaining. But we shouldn't chalk this up to mere quirkiness or some other oddity. To do so, to dismiss evil because its agent is a clown, misconstrues the relationship between the comic antics and the evil it accompanies. Fascists and their kind are often seen as both evil and funny, because those two characteristics are connected. Each is a reflex of a shared origin. And that shared foundation is nihilism, a rejection of anything serious or of genuine human value. It is a pernicious irrationality. The legendary comedian Groucho Marx recognized the link between comedy and irrationality when he defined humor as reason gone mad. The literary critic Terry Eagleton offers a more precise description of this relationship. In his book, On Evil, Eagleton writes, "Farce is human action stripped of meaning and reduced to mere physical motion. When nothing has meaning, nothing is serious. Anything of human value can therefore be reduced to a mere joke." Terry Eagleton has also warned that when clowning is pushed to the point of denying all value, it indeed becomes monstrous. Because just as evil can be funny by devaluing all things in life to a mere joke, it also physically destroys everything of human value that has reason to exist. Just as much as he enjoys playing a stand-up comedian on Air Force One, Stephen Miller is also driven by the urge to inflict pain on others, and his own words from his college years bear out this assessment. In one of the several appearances on right-wing talk radio and TV, he was a guest on a Fox News program with Nancy Grace. He was there to attack the supposed liberal bias of his school, Duke University. Near the end of the interview, Grace asked Miller what he majored in, and without answering the question, Miller said, "I've always been interested in being a prosecutor." When prodded for further elaboration, he added, "Because I want to get criminals and I want to put them away so they never see the light of day again." Miller's answer is revealing. He characterizes his prosecutorial ambitions in terms of his own need to see people thrown away for life. The objective is neither public safety, justice for the victims, nor certainly reform. It's the tears of his enemies that he seeks. For fascists, it is the act of punishing, not the reason to punish, that matters. Ernst Junger, a German author who served as an officer for the Nazis in occupied France, wrote, It is not what we fight for, but how we fight. Cruelty is the point. Fascists seek destruction for its own sake without any rationality or reason. They find pleasure in oppression itself. As the pro-slavery American philosopher George Fitzhugh wrote before the Civil War, the moral and physical world is but a series of subordinations, and the more perfect the subordination, the greater the harmony and the happiness. This is what makes evil, as Terry Eagleton understood to be, supremely pointless, and makes it appear to have no practical purpose. To be diabolical is to enjoy the means of one's actions without necessarily caring about the ends. Comedy and barbarity are not two sides of the same coin of evil. They are both on the same nihilistic side, which seeks to demolish all meaning from existence. The nihilism of evil, to not see any value in human existence, is also what makes it seem buffoonish. And this is what allows them to get away with it. The covalence of humor and barbarity causes many sensible people to let their guard down, to not see evil as a genuine threat. As a rare human condition, evil is similar to what the comedian and horror film director Jordan Peele referred to as bad miracles, which he says are things that are so entertaining that we're blinded to the danger of them. We can see this paradigm if we look back at the way modern fascism came to power. When Donald Trump first announced he was running for president back in June 2015, late-night comedians had a field day. Jon Stewart of The Daily Show, who was ending his show in 6 weeks at the time, was thrilled to have so much comedic material. "Thank you, Donald Trump," he gushed, "for making my last 6 weeks my best 6 weeks." No one in the media in 2015 took Trump's presidential bid seriously. After all, Trump was a reality TV show clown, a real estate tycoon for whom one could say that, like Adolf Eichmann, the only thing he had learned, perhaps, was how to sell. But those in the media, like Jon Stewart, were deceived because they thought Trump as a mere fool and not a real monster that could take power. Here we see how the jokester persona works as a guise, a form of camouflage that allows fascists to progress unimpeded despite declarations of the most outrageous and offensive ideas. Evil, when yoked in clownish buffoonery, is easily dismissed. Similarly, Stephen Miller managed to sail through life without much scrutiny from his peers because they also saw him as a mere jester. His high school classmates, who laughed at his supposed jokes, didn't recognize his promiscuous irrationality, the source of his supposed humor, was also the sign of his sadism. They didn't realize that when he made declarations like, "Torture is a celebration of life and human dignity," he truly meant it. In the recent assassination of Alex Pretti in Minneapolis by ICE agents, before the blood even went cold, Stephen Miller was quick to label the murdered victim as a would-be assassin. Pretti was a registered nurse who served veterans in intensive care. All the video evidence of ICE agents unloading 10 shots into him at close range shows that their actions cannot be considered self-defense by any reasonable person. But demons like Miller, who revel in their cruelty, have no trouble tarnishing the reputations of victims like Pretti. Miller is, as Steve Bannon described him as, an evil robot who knows he's being wicked. It is past time to strip off the camouflage of humor from fascism and start to take what these people say more seriously. Right after the 2016 presidential election, when the world was still in shock over the results that almost no one had predicted, Steve Bannon spoke to a reporter who said that Trump's electoral upset had the makings of a blockbuster film. Without missing a beat, Bannon replied dramatically, "Brother, Hollywood doesn't make movies where the bad guys win." Perhaps some may say that Bannon was just trolling. Or, like how the titular character in Shakespeare's Richard III, who says in his famous monologue that, "I am determined to prove a villain." Bannon may be serious when he refers to himself as one of the bad guys. As the poet Maya Angelou said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Because if we don't start to take them at their word, it will be the devil that has the last laugh.